Welcome to Business Analysis Techniques. This is your online instructor, Diana Block, and we are going into week 6. So this is our hump week of the class. And during this week, what you're going to do is review the concepts that we've studied from week 1 up to this point. There's no new reading material for this week. So you're just going to review previous chapters that we've already studied and discussed. Then also in the discussion, you're going to talk about the concepts that we've already studied and how they may be applied or provide value in your current career or even a future career. So we're going to talk about everything we've done to this point and kind of summarize that at this halfway point. So be prepared to go back in your textbook to study and review some of the things we've already done. So what I want to do in this video is to look at the homework problems and remind you, as it were, of some of the concepts that we studied and kind of point you into what chapters to look back at in order to complete these. So all of these are going to be similar to problems that we've already done up to this point in the course. If you take a look at this first problem in your week 6 assignments, problem A, it's a probability and expected value problem. So if you go back to page 23 and 35 in your textbook, those will be in chapter 2, you'll see examples of problems like this. So the short version, to just review it, to find the probability, you're going to take each frequency and divide it by the total number of hours recorded. And so for each one of these numbers of customers, will do that. You'll take the frequency divided by the total hours recorded, and that'll go in each of these green boxes. Once you have all the probabilities filled in, then you will be able to multiply the number of customers times the probability and add all of them up to get the expected value. So let me be clear. In the expected value, you're going to take a sum product of customers times probability. So you're going to sum up all of the results of a certain number of customers times a certain probability, certain number of customers times a probability. You're going to have each of these number of customers times a probability, and you're going to sum that. You're not going to sum the probabilities because that's going to all equal 1. You're going to sum the probability times the number of customers, and that's what's going to give you the expected value. So again, look at pages 23 and 35 to refresh on that topic. So let's look at the second problem in the week 6 to get this where it'll all fit with the tabs. Just a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, problem B is going to be problems of distributions, and these are other probability concepts that we did look at in chapter 2 as well, and it's a later part of the chapter, so you're going to look at some of the pages starting in maybe page 31 through the end of the chapter. So if you read through the blue box, make sure you're reading the instructions, and it's going to give you some information about various probabilities. So this first problem, I'm going to give you a hint. You're going to use the binomial distribution. So review the binomial distribution function. You're going to use that Excel function equals binom dist. That's the binomial distribution function in Excel in order to find out the probability that exactly 2 birdhouses will be sold for a refund. So when you read chapter 1 or part 1 of this problem, binomial distribution is what's going to get you to that solution that you're looking for. Now in problem 2, part 2 of this, it tells us that the amount the customers spend are distributed normally between 70 and with a standard deviation of 20. So this is going to tell us that we're going to use the normal distribution function. We're going to use the norm dist function in Excel, and that's going to solve this part B2 for you. And the same thing on B3. We've given some information about this previous problem where we're still talking about the normal mean of 70 and a standard deviation of 20. So on part 3 is a continuation of part 2. So we're still going to use the normal distribution function in Excel. So review those functions in your textbook in chapter 2, normal distribution, and it gives you instructions on how to access that function in Excel and how to use it and which boxes to put your numbers in to get the correct answers for the normal distribution. And then the last part is telling us about a queuing problem. This something takes an average of 30 minutes to complete, and we're going to find the probability that it's going to take 45 minutes. So that's a queuing problem. So remember, on the queuing problems, we're using the exponential distribution function in Excel. So you'll, in Chapter 2, review the exponential distribution, how to use that function, and that will allow you to get the correct solution on Part B4. So all of that's out of Chapter 2. You're going to use either the binomial distribution function, the normal distribution function, or the exponential distribution function in Excel to solve those. Now, if we look at problem C here, so on problem C here, we are moving into some of the information in Chapter 3, decision analysis. So we've got some information again in the explanation of the problem in the blue box, and we're being asked for values using ELC. That's equally likely criterion. So we're going to calculate the equally likely values, and if you will refer back to Chapter 3, you'll recall that basically we're going to take an average of these two numbers, and the answer goes there, and the average of these, and whichever one has the highest average is going to be the one we would choose if we were using that. But here we're just going to calculate what the value is using ELC. Then the next part up here tells us to use the criterion of realism with a coefficient of realism of 0.8. So that means that we're going to take 0.8 times the larger of these two numbers, and plus 0.2 times the smaller of those two numbers. And we'll do the same thing for the other option, the small store. We'll take 0.8 times the larger and 0.2 times the smaller. And those will give us our values using criterion of realism. And again, the exact formulas are still in the textbook where they were before. And so you can review that information in Chapter 3. Then we're going to calculate the expected monetary value using what the person believes will be. So if we look up in the box, it tells us that he believes that the probability of a favorable market is 0.7 and an unfavorable market is 0.3. Those are what he believes to be the results will be for the favorability or unfavorability of the market. And so you're going to calculate what the expected monetary value is using that information. So again, the formula's in the book, but basically you're going to take 0.7 times the larger of the two numbers and plus 0.3 times the smaller of the two numbers. And you'll do the same thing for this row down here. And then you will have the expected monetary values. So then we're going to calculate down here EVWPI. Remember, that is expected value with perfect information. So you've got a formula that you're going to use for that is in the textbook. That formula is on page, let me see here, I thought I had it. That's on page 72 and 73. And so then to get the most to pay, you're going to take your results from EVWPI and subtract the EMV that you calculated up here. And then you'll also put down which store you will choose using max and min. Remember, max and min is the decision using the worst case scenario. So review Chapter 3 to be able to complete those problems. And on problem 4, we're going to do regression analysis. And so remember, you will use the data analysis tab to get to the regression tool. Well, no, not the data tab only, but the data tab and then data analysis is what we're going to do. If this doesn't show up, remember to check your Excel options and make sure the add-ins are checked. So you're going to go to the data analysis tab and then over to the data analysis, and from there you'll be able to select from this group regression, and then enter your your Y input range and then your X input range, and in order to get the regression. I'm going to back out of this. And once you have the regression information, then you'll be able to fill in all of the data. And remember, we've recently done that already. So just look back on your previous assignments to refresh on that. And then these last two problems quickly will have to do with solver. So with solver, remember, you're just going to have to add in your constraints. You'll have to add in your formula for profit, and you'll have to do the sensitivity reports in order to get any information related to the lowest or highest profit, how much it can change in order to keep your results. So we just worked on solver in weeks 5, so look back at that assignment and that reading. Problem F is also a solver problem. So you're going to put in your formula for profit, you're going to add in constraints, then you're going to go up here, put in your solver information. If you need a sensitivity report, then you'll do that. And so that is the requirements for each of the problems that you'll be able to go through. If you have any questions about this, I had to fit a lot into 15 minutes. If you have additional questions, just make sure you email me or catch me on Blackboard IM, and we can go over those. But if you look back through your previous assignments, I don't think you'll have any problems with these. So I look forward to talking to you in the discussion, and have a great week.